when my friends and we went to go watch the NCAA championship game, and it was Notre Dame against Mississippi State, possibly one of the best games in NCAA history. I remember hugging my friend and being like, oh, that was the best game ever. And she goes, oh, it would have been so much better if the sound had been on. That entire time, I hadn't realized we'd watched the entire game with no sound, which is a really huge aspect of spectator sport. I said, the only way we're ever going to watch women's sports in its full glory is if we had our own place. The sports bra was really started as a women's sports bar, and I think when people hear that, they think, oh, a sports bar for women, but it's actually a bar for women's sports. It really has resonated with so many more people than I could have ever imagined, not just for women and not just for sports, but like this kind of intersection of so many different things. So I think about that when I see young kids in here. You know, nobody loses when you push towards equity and, representation. When I did open, a huge concern was lack of media to show on TVs. Not only did I want a space to represent what is out there, but I wanted a space that shined a light on what's not out there. Statistically, 40% of all athletes in the US are women, and yet 4% are being shown on TV. So I had written a post on my Instagram, and I basically said, there'll be times where the TVs are off, and that says just as much as having a game on. These so-called weaknesses in the business plan, like that is a definite weakness, but using it to the advantage of bringing attention, drawing awareness. How can you be a fan of something you can't see or that you don't have access to? When you have large corporations putting some money where their mouth is and doing it, and then seeing the ROIs on it that are like astronomical.
Historically, women's sports have been hard to find, and women's sports fans have had to work really hard to access the athletes and the teams and the leagues that they love and want to support. From a viewership perspective, in terms of broadcast, our agreement with Paramount and CBS allows for the league to distribute all of our content through CBS Sports Network, and Paramount Plus. Most of our games being digital, and our digital streaming business and viewership is up almost 30% year over year. And our championship game set the record for the league's most watched ever game, with 915,000 people in average over the course of the broadcast, which is a 70% increase year over year from last year's championship. We have an opportunity to really capture not just the avid fan, but the casual fan, who can now be able to just flip their TV on and see our incredible athletes who are the best in the world performing their trade.
I honestly feel so fortunate that the sports bra opened when it did, because I really think we are on a turning point for women's sports, representation, access, equity, that we have never seen, like the growth of it. I mean, obviously Title IX was 50 years ago, and we've seen a lot happen since then. The plan was just to support, empower, and promote girls and women in sports. I'm one person, I opened one bar, and now it feels a lot bigger than that. It's become like a example of what is possible. Maybe this bar will help other people in other sports bars or restaurants change the channel and get more access to women's sports or show more women's sports. And then that kind of is a domino effect.
5 years ago, I think women's sports was thought of as a cause and was historically funded to the extent there were sponsors out of CSR or philanthropy budgets as really more of like a gender equity play. And I think now what you're seeing is the ability to unlock incremental dollars and investment, because brands, investors, and media partners see the business of women's sports and see the value proposition. So we know what we should be commanding from the marketplace, not because it's the right thing to do or it's social impact, but because from a business perspective, the data supports it.